The 8th of November 1939. Hitler paid a special visit to a place central in Nazi folklore. It was the Bürgerbrau beer hall in Munich, where in a failed coup in 1923, the Nazis had made their first bid for political power. 20 minutes after Hitler left the hall, it was ripped apart by a bomb. 9 people were killed, a further 60 wounded. But Hitler was long gone. 6 years later, the man who was to bring devastation to Europe would die by his own hand. But until that day, he would survive numerous assassination attempts. Hitler claimed he was protected by fate and took his lucky escape as evidence of his divine mission. But why did so many plots to kill Hitler fail? And who were the men of the secret resistance that operated in Nazi Germany, the disparate loners and conspirators driven by a common goal? To kill the man who threatened to destroy Europe. January the 30th, 1933. Hitler became Chancellor. Many Germans hoped he could save them from the economic chaos that had plagued their country since the end of the First World War. But there were some individuals and groups who feared that Hitler would be dangerous for the future of Germany. Communists and other opposition parties were the most obvious centers of resistance. Hitler dealt with them by imprisoning their members in concentration camps. It was the beginning of a terrifying repressive regime in which any opposition was crushed by the Nazi Party's secret police. But the most serious potential threat to Hitler came from within his own party, from the SA, the Brown Shirts. These were the men who'd fought on the streets to win political power for the Nazi Party. Ernst Röhm, head of the Brown Shirts, was committed to revolutionary politics. But Hitler had to appease the conservative elements of the German government and army. They considered the SA a rival paramilitary threat. In June 1934, during the infamous Night of the Long Knives, Hitler accompanied SS officers sent to arrest Röhm whilst on holiday in southern Germany. Röhm was accused of treason and imprisoned. He turned down the option of suicide and was shot in his cell. Other opposition leaders were also eliminated. With the end of effective political opposition, religious leaders began to protest. Cardinal Faulhaber bravely organized a Catholic procession against Nazism through Munich in 1938. Martin Niemöller, a leading Protestant seen here on release from prison, said in a sermon in 1937, "We must obey God rather than man." But Hitler had no mercy for these protesters. Many were arrested and executed. Opposition to Hitler was forced underground, operating within tight circles of trusted friends. Among these groups, those most likely to come into contact with Hitler were those in the army. In 1938, Hitler's aggressive foreign policy outraged General Ludwig Beck, the army chief of staff. When Hitler demanded that the Sudetenland, the westernmost province of Czechoslovakia, be handed over to Germany, Beck resigned. As Czech soldiers mobilized, Beck wrote a memorandum to his fellow senior officers, warning that Hitler's actions could plunge Germany into another disastrous war. Beck's successor, Franz Halder, agreed with him. He saw only one solution to the disturbing rise of fascism in Germany. he met with Colonel Hans Oster and General Erwin von Witzleben. Together, the three drew up a plan to attack the Chancellery and kill Hitler. But in September 1938, the Sudeten crisis was diffused when Britain, France and Italy allowed Germany to take over the region without the need for war. Halder called a halt to his plans. By now, other individuals had come to realize that Hitler's death was the only way to stop the Nazis' expansionist ambitions. Sometimes they managed to slip through the security and get surprisingly close to their target. Maurice Bavo was a Swiss theology student who pretended to be a great admirer of the Führer. In 1938, he visited Berlin and then went to Hitler's special residence at Berchtesgaden in the Bavarian Alps. But the Führer's busy itinerary left no time for a meeting. However, the anniversary of the Munich beer hall putsch was a date that Bavo knew Hitler would keep. For this was the place where Hitler had made his first bid for power. There, in 1923, Hitler had fired a pistol in the air and declared the start of a revolution. Although the putsch had failed and Hitler had been arrested and imprisoned, it had given him tremendous publicity and set him on the path to political power. Bavo bought a ticket for one of the viewing stands on the parade route that Hitler and his Nazi veterans were due to take. Surrounded by the SS and SA, Hitler approached. Holding his recently purchased gun, Bavo, though close to the procession, felt unable to shoot into the milling crowd. Undaunted, he continued to follow Hitler around Germany until he ran out of money. He was stopped on a train bound for Augsburg and arrested for traveling without a ticket. After the discovery of his pistol, he was taken for questioning by the Gestapo. During a brutal interrogation, he admitted his plan. He was tried by a people's court and sentenced to death. 3 years later, he was beheaded. September 1939. Hitler's invasion of Poland finally forced other European powers to respond. Both Britain and France declared war on Germany. The outcome that many German critics of Hitler had feared. Head of German military intelligence, Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, contacted Army Commander-in-Chief Walter von Brauchitsch. Their aim, to delay the invasion of the West. Some of Canaris' staff discussed the idea of killing Hitler with a bomb, but this came to nothing. It was left to another persistent loner who was to come closer to killing Hitler than any assassin before him. George Elser was a cabinet maker with strong socialist beliefs. He had spent a year single-handedly building a bomb to kill the Führer. Like Bavo, Elser saw Hitler's annual commemoration of the beer hall putsch as his best opportunity. Elser moved to Munich and visited the Bürgerbrau beer hall night after night, even hiding there after it closed. He dug a secret hole in the pillar behind the speaker's rostrum. In it, he placed a time bomb he built himself. Expecting Hitler to still be talking at 9:20 p.m., Elser set the timer on his bomb for that exact time. The 8th of November arrived, and everything began according to plan. At the last moment, however, Hitler finished his speech early and left unexpectedly. Some 20 minutes later, the bomb exploded, killing 9 people and injuring 60. Hitler almost certainly would have been killed by the explosion. He visited the wounded in hospital, his amazing survival only confirming his belief that fate was on his side.